I like to think of money habits like accents, right? You don't even realize you have one until you hear someone else talk. Maybe your family never talked about money, so the idea of spreadsheets feels like overkill. Or maybe your parents were extra cautious, and so seeing your partner drop $2,000 on a spontaneous weekend getaway stresses you the hell out.
Who the f*** am I to tell you what to do with your money?
My name is Priya Malani, currently managing millions of hardworking dollars. Enough foreplay. Let's talk
Money.
Welcome to the F word. Smart money.
No bull.
I could never combine finances with my partner. Have you ever thought that? Or maybe ever heard somebody else say it? Because, let's be real, merging money with somebody else feels risky. What if they have debt? What if they spend differently than you? What if they're not as financially savvy? What if you lose control over the money you've made? And when's the right time? When you move in together? When you're married? Before you're married? The questions are real. And most of them can be rooted back to a smidge of childhood trauma, which I'll get into later. But here's the thing. If you only judge someone by their financial flaws, I'd argue you might be missing the bigger picture. So I want to talk about Shaq. People who know me will get a kick out of this because my background is in performing arts, not sports. So I have no business making this analogy. That said, back to Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal was terrible at free throws, like objectively bad. If you only looked at his free throws, you'd think, yeah, I don't want that guy on my team. And yet, without him, the Lakers don't win championships. Because Shaq wasn't just a free throw liability, he was also a dominant force who could change the entire game with what he did bring to the table. And when you build a team, you don't obsess over weaknesses, you actually start playing to each other's strengths. Same goes for your money team. Just because your partner has student loans or a different spending style doesn't mean they're bad with money, and it definitely doesn't mean you shouldn't be working together as a team. It likely means you guys need a strategy that helps you work together and plays to each other's strengths. So today, we're talking about how to stop thinking about money as yours and mine and start operating like a team without losing your independence, your sanity, or feeling like you're signing up for financial babysitting. A quick side note, if your significant other is actually a financial dumpster fire, or as I like to call them, a hot money mess, dump them. No, I'm kidding. But also, if you listen to this episode and realize your partner would never get on board with any of this, I don't know. I'd have some reservations. All right, let's get into it. I want to start by saying that if you and your partner struggle to get on the same page with money, in the words of Michael Jackson, you are not alone. And honestly, it would be really weird if you guys just naturally agreed on money from day one. Why do I say that? Because you grew up in two different households with completely different financial habits, values, and priorities. I like to think of money habits like accents, right? You don't even realize you have one until you hear someone else talk. Maybe your family never talked about money, so the idea of spreadsheets and budgeting feels like overkill. Or maybe your parents were extra cautious, and so seeing your partner drop $2,000 on a spontaneous weekend getaway stresses you the hell out. Okay, so here's where it gets even wilder. Research suggests that most of our financial habits are set by age 7. 7! That means by the time you're a full-ass adult, if you're in a serious relationship, you've already spent decades reinforcing your own money mindset. And your partner obviously has too. So, yeah, of course you don't see eye to eye right away. But the good news is that you don't have to change each other. You just have to change your system, or lack thereof. The reason I want to focus on the system is because I've been doing this for decades now, and if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that money makes people act irrationally. Even smart, high-earning, wildly successful people make inconsistent money decisions every day. I'll bet you definitely know someone who refuses to pay for shipping, but will drop $200 on bottle service. Or someone who says investing is too risky, but then YOLO's a down payment on a house that they haven't even run the numbers on. That's called behavioral finance. And it's the reason why systems matter more than willpower. When people say, I don't trust myself with money, what they actually mean is I don't have a system that removes my ability to screw it up. So your system is the key to working as a team. It's not about willpower, and it's not about waking up one day and just magically being better with money. So stop wishing that. And it's definitely not about avoiding it and saying, we just keep things separate rather than face a potentially difficult or awkward conversation. If you've decided to be together and plan to tackle life as a team, why wouldn't you approach your financial life as a team too? Like, seriously. I strongly believe that if you have a system in place that makes it impossible to fail, whatever failure means to you, you'll never look back. Because again, everyone comes to the table with strengths and weaknesses, right? Maybe your partner sucks at saving, but is incredible at making money. Or maybe they're great at tracking their spending, but not so great at investing. Again, the goal isn't to fix each other's flaws. It's to build a system where both of you contribute your strengths. And the sooner you stop focusing on what's wrong with each other's money habits and start focusing on how to win together, the sooner you'll actually start making progress as a team. Now, working as a team doesn't mean merging all your accounts, but I want to talk about it for a second. What are you really afraid of here? Usually I'll hear people say, I don't want to merge my accounts because I don't want to lose control. Maybe you've worked really hard to be financially independent. Maybe you watched your parents fight about money and never wanted to be in that position. And I get that. But working as a team does not mean having to give up control. In fact, I would argue it could mean creating more control with structure and systems. Think of it like a company. Apple doesn't just let Tim Cook wing it with the bookkeeping. They have departments, structure, and obviously they have financial systems in place to make sure things run efficiently. Apple keeps making money, and no one's going to jail for a white-collar crime. Your relationship should work the same way. Once you set up a system that's clear, automated, and fair, you don't have to micromanage every transaction. And you don't have to worry about losing control because the system itself gives you control. My goal in saying all of this is to help you realize that you shouldn't let your mindset and your habits that were locked in at age 7 stop you and your partner from thinking about and working towards your money goals as a team. At the same time, just because your partner tracks every penny they spend doesn't mean that when you're, quote, working as a team, you have to start doing that too. In fact, when I hear people talk about the app they use to track their spending or the spreadsheet they built, I have a public service announcement I like to give, which is smart money management does not require micromanagement. So then what is this be-all, end-all system I keep alluding to? Next week, I'm going to show you exactly how to build a low-key system that simplifies money for your relationship. Couples always say to us, we've hit our 30s, we have all these accounts floating around out there, it's just too much to manage, we don't know what to keep, what to kill. But merging everything feels like we'll lose autonomy or one of us will become dependent on the other. And we don't want that either. That concern can be extra potent when you feel like you're the less financially savvy half of a couple, right? I was talking to someone the other day who's super successful in her own right, but her husband, he's a consultant at Deloitte. So after they got married, she was convinced that if they merged things, she'd be left out of the loop. And not because he was going to hide it, but more just because money was his thing, right? And she worried that one day she'd wake up and just feel disconnected from her own finances, or maybe not even like she was allowed to spend her own money, which is it's a real fear. So next week, we're getting tactical because whether you've been together 3 years or 13, if your money system is a headache, you're doing it wrong. So we're going to talk about the exact bank accounts you'll need. Hint, it's probably fewer than you think. where your paycheck should go so that there's never a fight about who covers what, and how to build a system that's so simple, it basically runs itself. Because as far as I'm concerned, when your money works, your relationship works better too. Period. All right. See you next week. Thanks for listening to The F Word with Priya Malani. If you like what you heard, hit subscribe wherever you're listening and leave us a review while you're at it. We're approval junkies. Don't forget, you can find a ton of great resources, content, courses, and other freebies at stashwealth.com. Now, for the capital S stuff our lawyers want us to say. Stash Wealth is a registered investment advisor. Content presented is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to make an offer or solicitation for any specific securities, product, service, or strategy. Consult with a qualified investment advisor, that's us, before implementing any strategy. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. There, we said it.
Did I have that up?